15 years. 15 years since the stealth action genre was born from the loins of Konami's legendary title, Metal Gear Solid. For years since then, the fans have hailed the franchise for its ice-cold and cool lead, Solid Snake, though there was one other character that gamers drooled over the need to play, and with so many years now passed, can Metal Gear Rising's Raiden fulfill our lust to play as the cyborg ninja, or has the franchise actually cut a wound just a little too deep?
Let's get this over with.
As many know, the white-haired warrior originally graced MGS fans' nightmares as the skin-tight skull-suit-wearing rookie, a rookie who became the laughingstock for fans and original creators alike. But with MGS4's rebirth of the She-Boy's relevance in the series as the new badass with a blade, longtime supporters suddenly spurted an urge to wield this previously hated creation. Here we welcome Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, the first ever console spin-off in the series by longtime action epic designers Platinum Games. For the first time too, we finally get to control the destructive yet graceful nature of Raiden's cyborg persona, and what I can tell you is that Platinum Games' attempt to portray such a character is incredibly successful.
My sword is a means to an end, to protect those you'd prey on.
As you would expect, Metal Gear Rising consists of your usual modern-day sci-fi fare. You have giant robots, augmented and obviously psychotic lead villains, and even a ton of mind-numbing philosophy. What is actually surprising about Rising, though, is that it feeds its audience with just the right amount of everything it offers. To start things off, the story follows the journey of Raiden a number of years after the cinematic-heavy MGS4, where Snake finally saved the world from the mysterious Patriots. War has become uneconomical, and international peace is getting closer in sight. Things ultimately take a turn for the worse, though, when talks of unity within the Middle East are suddenly interrupted with the newly found terrorist organisation, Desperados. Too bad for them, they have messed with the wrong cyborg ninja. Without a blink of an eye, Raiden takes a personal war on cybernetic terror. As usual, we have our standard force feeding of Kojima's overly long philosophy lessons, but thankfully, not to the length of previous entries.
That was a long time ago.
For the most part, the puppets within this theatre are actually quite entertaining to watch, with a standout cocky performance by Jetstream Sam's voice actor, Philip Anthony Rodriguez. Sadly, Raiden's own Quinton Flynn, who has portrayed the hero throughout the series, is forced to read some, well, pretty awkward and silly lines.
Adios, amigos.
This brings us to the realization that Raiden as a character isn't as cool from an emotional standpoint than he is through his physicality. Personally, I feel this game had a huge potential in creating one of Metal Gear's most coolest villains, but the plot's rather forced and confusingly silly implementation of his alter ego Jack the Ripper seemed like a rather odd piece of wasted potential. It is a huge shame because it makes us feel like Raiden is less of a badass and more of someone who really needs a good therapist.
Now you're just being nasty.
Metal Gear Rising has one goal and one goal only, and that's to supply you, the gamer, with non-stop over-the-top action, and in that area it truly delivers. For the most part, you'll block out Rising's rather tepid story, and in its place comes 8 hours of incredibly satisfying slicing and dismemberment, not only in its cinematic fight scenes, but also in what the game lets you take part in.
Bullseye!
What is rather interesting is to see a game of this genre provide something fresh and invigorating while also sticking to what makes games like this so fun to hack through. For the first part, Raiden comes with your standard assortment of attacks and combos, ranging from single target strikes to more surrounding enemy slashes. What comes into full effect here is what the lightning fast combos lead to, which the developers tagged as Blade Mode. See, when you are done wailing on your foe like a washing line blanket in the wind, you are given the option to finish off your opponent in what I guess you could call a process in making a bowl of human salad. Through Raiden's incredibly satisfying Blade Mode feature, you can slice and dice each and every one of your enemies into tiny cubes of meat for as long as your energy meter stays filled. Run out of energy though, and you can quickly replenish it by slicing through an enemy in just the right place to claim their spine and refill your meter. While this is pretty tactical at first, it can get a little tiring. Sure, the chop suey pie is a constant blast to utilise, but hearing Raiden time and time again announce "Bullseye! Bullseye! 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 Bullseye!" can get a little old, and can partially take you out of the mesmerising combat. In a way, I'd have loved to have seen a little more variety in how Raiden claims his enemy's battery units, but it's a small complaint nonetheless. The best part is that all of Rising's combat and mechanics are incredibly fluid and well implemented, with the game's level-ending boss fights being a real test to the player's skill and mastery throughout. Unlike other games that have at times given a feeling of cheapness or unfair advantage, a la Ninja Gaiden, Rising makes you feel and know that its combat will only best you when you let it.
They sowed their fate when they took this job. I'm just the Reaper.
What's more is that the combat can actually be customised and combined even further with a selection of combos and lockable weapons designed to give even the brightest ninjas the sharpest edge. Now with a tool bag of useful gadgets comes the need to express your love for them on foes of different shapes and sizes. Metal Gear Rising actually provides its blood-hungry players with a nice, compact variety of enemies ranging from a few previously loved opponents to brand new additions that still give a feeling of the Metal Gear universe gamers love.
The bastards are using stealth camo to ambush you. Nice try.
As mentioned, the combat is based around the player's ability to adapt to it, and the enemies actually give you a fair challenge the further into the game's depths that you go. What's more is that the recycling of certain enemies actually doesn't feel at all tiring thanks to the game's previously mentioned limb-lopping combat. Every enemy you come across will bring with them a set of unique attack patterns that Raiden can attempt to dodge or block. Enemies that are prepping for the need to strike will actually give Raiden a signal through a sudden red flash, which gives players the opportunity to make their next move. Now what comes into play here is Rising's second main combat feature, which also leads to its highly praised blade mode. When enemies are about to strike as stated, it is up to Raiden to block his foe's blow at just the right time. This actually allows him to parry his enemy's strike and counter them up for either a hard-hitting combo or a multi-layered lesson in what happens when you lose all your limbs. For the most part, it is a pretty promising system, where directing Raiden's parry action with the analog stick allows him to defend from surrounding enemies. Sadly though, it can become a little bit of a pain to handle at times with tight corridors or spaces, hiding would-be victims and allowing them to swipe you from behind. It's not the biggest of complaints when playing through the adventure itself, but when a game's combat depends on you being aware of your surroundings, it can sometimes become a little bit of a nuisance. Something else I wasn't too pleased with was Rising's fairly cobbled together stealth mechanic. For certain parts of the game, you'll find that your enemies aren't too aware of your approaching tour of pain for them, and so you'll be given the opportunity to pick them off one by one. The thing is that while the stealth kills from the offset seem pretty cool, it is what leads up to them that I find a big problem. Unfortunately for this highly advanced cyborg ninja, Raiden doesn't actually know how to crouch, and so using cover by standing in a static position can seem a little odd. Rising does try and add a little help through the use of the humorous cardboard box disguise, but this sadly conflicts with the AI's questionable scripted pathfinding. Ultimately, assassination slowed down the game's pace rather than keep it as a constant full ride, and that really makes this gameplay feature suffer throughout. Either way, most gamers will probably ignore that fairly tacked-on stealth path and just go for the limb-lopping fun that came as advertised, and thankfully, you can always count on that to fall back on. Now when it comes to Rising's visuals, they also don't disappoint to some extent too, with some really awesome looking character and standard enemy designs. Though with a grumbling of disappointment, it is a step back from Sons of the Patriot's sharply textured models, and for the most part the environments consist of pretty much a combination of grey and just more grey. Wait, no, wait! Oh no, that's just grey too, sorry. That isn't to say that the game is a painful sight to see like a preschool finger painting, but Metal Gear has previously shown that it can make some pretty alluring backdrops. For Metal Gear Rising though, this is sadly not the case. Ultimately, Metal Gear Rising is a standout hack-and-slash title with a slavering of elements that we get from a fun popcorn flick. Remember to enter this title not for a hard-hitting story, but more for the need to inhale a little bit of comical violence while switching off thy freshly pulsing brain. Proxy playthroughs gives Metal Gear Rising a finely cooked gold muffin, but I would love to know what you think, minions! Is this title cutting through this year's greatest games, or does Rising's blade dull too quickly for your taste? Proxy would love to know, but until next time, ciao.